A very warm welcome. Yes, I can see the heat is getting to us a little bit, but trust me, it's going to get a little hotter with all the wonderful dignitaries who are going to be coming onto stage in a short while. And once again, a warm welcome for all of you all seated out here to the Calcutta Club, the Telegraph National Debate, ladies and gentlemen, 2015, brought to you by the Camellia Group. And once again, I would request all of you all to kindly put your mobile phones on silent mode or in a switched off mode. It's very, very important that we maintain silency with your jingle tones, ladies and gentlemen, because it could and would be distracting to the speakers. On this beautiful and splendid occasion, I would like to call on the President of Calcutta Club, Mr. Shubhajit Goa, to kindly give the welcome address. Mr. Goa.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Calcutta Club, I welcome you all to this evening's Calcutta Club, the Telegraph National Debate. The National Debate has evolved into a kind of a brand over the last 2 decades or so with the Calcutta Club, and before that, for a brief period, by the Telegraph directly. And we appreciate the efforts of the Telegraph and Mr. Avik Sarkar in particular for helping us building this lovely and wonderful brand. I am thankful to all the speakers and the moderator for having spared their valuable time and for being with us this evening. I'm sure the debate will be a thought-provoking one and will entertain all of us. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was very, very short and tight, and I really appreciate Mr. Goa to keep it that way. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to invite all our speakers and our moderator on stage. A big warm welcome with thundering clapping, ladies and gentlemen, for all our amazing personalities and speakers who are going to be coming onto stage right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's definitely going to be a very, very splendid evening. We all know that. And before we take off, I'd like you all to look at the screen because we're going to have a glimpse of all the speakers on the AV. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly look straight at the screen and you'll get to know a little bit more about our speakers. Thank you.
In customer banking lexicon, a zero balance account is a prized thing to possess. But at the moment, the new chief of the Delhi Pradesh Congress has neither a bank nor customers. But shunno theke shuru, it all starts from zero, goes a popular saying in Bengal. And so Ajay Makan can take heart from the fact that things can only get better. Who knows? A win this evening could be a historic turning point for Mr. Makan and his party. Babul Supriyo. If you think Bengal doesn't produce all-rounders, wait till you meet Babul Supriyo. He sounds like a singer, looks like an actor, speaks like a prankster, thinks like an MP, and now acts like a minister. Babul used an unbeatable hand-to-mouth strategy to win the Asansol elections. 1. Play caroms with your voters, and 2. Sing songs for your voters. We wonder what games he will play and songs he will sing this evening.
The question ought to be seriously asked. What's a man with a face like that doing in the Indian House of Elders? His wispy facial tendrils may probably be an attempt at imitating Che. But in fact, Ritobroto Banerjee has remained only a cheer-up. The story goes that he gained admittance to the Rajya Sabha not on the basis of returning officer's report, but upon producing his birth certificate. And now, Ritobroto gets mobbed by comrades wanting to click selfies with him. The question also ought to be seriously asked. Since when did South Point begin inspiring students to revolution?
Umar Abdullah. Tweet 1. CM of JNK is getting roasted on TV news channels and it isn't me. Life is good. If ever a man was happy to lose an election, it is Umar Abdullah. The Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, they say, must do the job with both hands tied at the back. Since his hands were freed last winter, Umar has employed them with abundance. Very often on Twitter, very often with a glee. Tweet 2. Keep calm. I'm coming back. If ever there was a Neta who tweeted cool and looked cooler, it's Umar Abdullah. Ask any of the ladies on the Calcutta Club lawns. He is the baby in the house, not just in the house this evening, but in Parliament. Some call him Yuvraj, some call him Rahul Gandhi. But the one name sure to bring a smile to his face is Simba, his 2-month-old pup. He calls his aunt Didi. We call him the Lion King of Trinamool Congress, Abhishek Banerjee. And yes, for this lover of fancy watches, his time has come. Almost the first thing Sanjay Nirupam did upon being crowned boss of the Mumbai Congress was to rush to the nearest Hanuman temple and prostrate himself. For forgiveness or for thanksgiving, we do not yet know. Nirupam might be with his colleague Makan in the zero balance list, but he could well be feeling a little lonelier. Being a Bihar ka bhaiya in the Marathi Manu city of his former party can't be easy. And is it at all pertinent that he passed over Ganesha, Mumbai's most loved deity, for Hanuman, the most favoured of Bihari gods?
In these times of beef ban, there is one politician who is trying to convince the BJP to get a taste of ham. The ham in question is, of course, the Hindustani Awam Morcha and the audacious politician Jiten Ram Majhi. He swam under the political radar for many decades in Bihar, but once he was pitched into the limelight, he ensured that he hogged it, even if for a brief while. The former Chief Minister of Bihar is nothing if not a man of many words, making him a suitable Bihari boy for this annual debate in neighbouring Bengal.
One way to introduce this man is to say few live up to their name as well as he. Siddharth, the one who walked away from heritage and family. How else would the grandson of Lal Bahadur Shastri have arrived in the BJP? And what should qualify this UP wala to be his party's Prabhari for Bengal? Thereby hangs another family tale. Yes, he too is a Jamai Babu of Calcutta with an Allahabad connection. Is that a conquest he is happy to stop at? Apparently not. Our Siddharth is out to get all of Bengal. Nirvana can wait. Hari Om. That's just our Dr. Aziz from Passage to India saying hello. From David Lean to Satyajit Ray to Roman Polanski, Victor Banerjee's CV as an actor is as rich as his sense of humour is wicked. He spends most of his time in the hills of Langio and calls himself an armchair philosopher contemplating nothing. This evening, as moderator for the debate, he has been given an armchair and a philosophy, but with lots to contemplate. Over to Victor.
In keeping with what was just said, Hari Om everybody. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members and friends of the Calcutta Club, and welcome to the Telegraph National Debate of 2015. I am here to moderate because no one else would take on the task with a handful of raging bulls that you see assembled on stage. While here, let me say that I strongly object to the omission of ladies from the panel and have registered my opinion officially. But I received a very strange reply about fair skin and southern belles having great figures, and hence northerners and easterners were still smarting from the chauvinistic and non-feminist observations of an errant poor parliamentarian, and picking ladies who wouldn't hurl rolling pins at us became a very touchy issue, and hence they've been left out. But I ask you all to breathe easy. Calcutta's air is now officially far safer to breathe than any other Indian city's is, and certainly Delhi's. Also, the learned and intellectually liberated audience of the Calcutta Club live in a state that has legally endorsed satire and cartoons because we here are severe and characteristically humorous lampooners of everything from politics to religion and romance, but never stoop to becoming crass or blasphemous or vindictive. For instance, I'd like to remind our panel of parliamentarians and legislators that Bengal may be a land of majis, fishermen, and bhog-bilashis, another word for gluttons who love food, but it has also produced India's only Miss Universe and even a Mr. Universe who once lent muscle and good cheer to the politics in West Bengal. Bengal is where we worship the holy cow. We serve beef in our restaurants, barbecue pork chops on our lawns, while all the time being economically ruled by the largest population of elitist vegetarians in the world. Right? Almost 30 years ago, I had written about the likely balkanization of India. And today, the writing is literally on the walls, and the whispers of discontent are getting louder and louder every day. Look, we all know that we live in a world in the worst of times and also achhe din times. And it's all a sad tale of two domains, Delhi on the one hand, and Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Manipur, Nagaland, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, and even the Shangri-La paradise on earth, Ladakh, on the other, are tired of thumping the table to grab national attention and have taken to beating their chests with both fists to demand recognition of at least their cultural sovereignty, individuality, and pride. In the personal opinion of this poor moderator, they are morally and socially justified. But we have seasoned warriors on stage here who will bare their chests, reveal their armory to an inquisitive Calcutta audience, and also tonight, hopefully, not take their lives and their allegiances too seriously, but simply responsibly. The one thing I would like our honorable speakers to remember this evening is that we all have a good idea of where they stand on most issues. And like our pot-boiling media, we have already passed judgment on what we think of them politically. So unless they want to come up with something radically divergent from our preconceived notions, it would be best if they left us alone with our learned and amusing opinions. What this forum does present is an opportunity for you honorable speakers to present your debating skills. In other words, let's hear you take a contrary view by letting your guard down and willingly receive a few harmless punches from your toothless opposition. That will not only give us an insight into your talents as public speakers, but will also reveal your ability to look at life, politics, and its problems from a different perspective than your own. It will help us in Calcutta respect the fact that you can mediate, govern, and accept natural evolution with an open mind and not amuse us with political correctness. The nation is bored with that as much as it is with absurd words and abused words like minorities, terrorists, and secularism. You've heard of the phrase, what Bengal thinks today, India thinks tomorrow. And some of you may have thought that that day is past and irrelevant today. But let me remind you that we thought of Sahara and Sharada, and we have long danced in a rose valley of scams that paved the way for politicians and industrialists to follow and cheerfully veer off the trodden path of honesty and take risks that lead them straight to Tihar. Je suis Bengali. Our cartoonists and moderators are satirical, not blasphemous, nor vindictive. And the judiciary here has just nailed that coffin of disrespect for the freedom of expression. So relax, gentlemen, and give vent. We have a lady here, Chumki, who has a bell, which she shall sound now. And since I'm the oldest one here and can hear it, I guess all of you can hear it too, right? That shall sound at 7 minutes, asking you to be warned that you have only another 2. You'll be given a second bell at 9 minutes, and at 10 minutes, Chumki has been given a rolling pin or a microphone to hit you with. Okay? So 7 minutes, first bell, 9 minutes, please take heed, Chumki is on her way. So round it off. Our speakers today, you know all of them, and we have chosen, or they've rather chosen themselves, Mr. Omar Abdullah on my right from the proposition, and Mr. Siddhartha Nath Singh on the left from the opposition to be their chief spokesman. So they will be the ones summing up at the end of the evening. And we are hoping to have a very, very lively debate from everyone. And I don't know if it's the Hanuman Mandir or the Ganesh Temple or whatever, but Mr. Sanjay Nirupam has to leave for another temple in Bombay and has a flight to catch at 8 o'clock this evening. So Mr. Maji has requested that he be allowed to speak in Hindi, and I've said that would be delightful. Most of us Bengalis can't speak it, but we can sure try and understand it. And then, of course, I immediately asked Sanjay Nirupam to speak in Marathi, and he turned it down. So, no, because I have a Maharashtrian wife, so I would have understood some of what he said, at least the naughty words. Anyway, so the debate today is all about politics. The House believes that politics is about the states and not about the nation. I'm sure we all know and have heard a lot about this now. And we are all, I've tried sort of humorously to point at some of the facts that we are facing in this country today. And I'm sure all of us realize that the murmurings are in some ways ominous, but it also opens up to a certain liberation that this country is looking forward to, a liberation of thought, liberation of peoples. I, as you all know, come from the Northeast. I am the brand ambassador of a very tiny tribe in North Kachar called the Dimasas, and I know what it means to be an actual minority in this country. And I know how important it is for their voices to be heard, for them to be recognized in this nation. So, whereas it might be all about the nation, it is also about the states, and finally, it's about the people. I will now hand you over to the great and eminent speakers on the dais today, and the proposition will be first moved by their leader, Mr. Ajay Makan.
Mr. Moderator, Victor Banerjee, fellow panelists, and dear friends. I am delighted to be a part of this annual prestigious debate here today. And the motion for the day is, this House believes politics is about the states and not about the nation. I stand here to support this motion. When I told the organizers that I would like to support this motion, they were a bit surprised. Because I belong to Indian National Congress. Indian is national, national is nation, and then, even then, I am supporting states rather than the nation. Well, we have another national conference representative with nation in it, Omar Abdullah, supporting the states as well. But first, I would like to clarify what exactly do I mean by this topic, what exactly I interpret about this motion. When we say politics is about the state, it does not mean that politics about the state is against the politics of nation. In reality, politics of the state is politics of the nation, because nation is sum total of all the states. So why can't we say that politics of the state and politics of the nation is something which we are supporting? The second thing is, my second interpretation of this topic is that it means that it is for decentralization of power. It means that the power, the resources should be decentralized from top to bottom in order to have a better and more functional democracy. And when we talk about decentralization of power, then I feel, why should we stop at the states? Why can't we say politics is that of villages, politics is that of cities, politics is that of the state, and politics then becomes politics of the nation? So I feel that when we talk about decentralization of power and resources, We should not just stop at the states, we should go even below the states, up to the villages, up to the cities. The third thing is, I think there are three connotations to this topic. The first is the literal sense, the literal meaning of politics, which means politics of the state, which means state and regional political parties, which means regional leaders of national parties. Regional leaders of national politics also, I think, is equivalent to state political parties or regional political parties. Then the second connotation, as I said earlier, is devolution of resources to the states and even below. The third connotation is devolution of powers at the lowest level to the Panchayati Raj institutions and to the urban local bodies. Now, when we talk about politics of states, I personally feel, after having spent more than 3 decades of my life in active politics, I think now the time has come when such state parties or such state leaders would thrive who have a strong base. So the national parties without strong state leaders would not thrive. And I would like to give a few illustrations. In 2004, no one expected Congress-led UPA to form the government. We could form the government because in Andhra Pradesh we had a strong Rajshekhar Reddy who helped us in getting 36 seats in Andhra Pradesh. In 2009 again, we came back to power because 34 in Andhra Pradesh, Haryana 10 out of 10, Rajasthan 21 out of 25, Delhi 7 out of 7. And what was the difference between 2004, 2009 and 2013 was untimely demise of Rajshekhar Reddy and Vilas Rao Deshmukh both, which I feel, had they been in politics, active politics, alive with us, we could have done at least much better. And why BJP could on their own cross 282? Because simply they got more number of seats in 2 very important states of UP and Bihar. So even in national politics, even in politics for Lok Sabha elections, parliament elections, state becomes very, very important. So politically speaking, states are very important when it comes to even national politics. Thus, what is required or what will happen? That national parties, as I said, with strong state leaders will survive. And like-minded regional parties will have to realign themselves, and also they would have to realign with national parties. But more importantly for the national parties, and that too for the Congress party, I very strongly feel that decentralization of power needs to take place. This high command culture has to be done away with. Unless we have decentralization of power in the national parties, including Congress party, I don't think that we have a very bright future ahead. When we talk about membership drive, why should an ordinary worker work for the party after losing elections in the states and parliament elections? When we talk to our workers, simply their question was, what have we got in last 10 or 15 years? And when we don't consult our workers in important policy making, when we don't consult our workers in important legislations or decision making, when we don't consult our workers at the time of finalization of candidates, why should the workers stand with the party? So unless we decentralize the power within the political parties itself, I don't think any national political party will have a future. If we want national political parties to thrive, then the most important thing which is required is to decentralize the power structure, to do away with the high command culture, give more powers to the worker, give more powers to the worker in decision making, in selection of candidates, and also in policy making. Only such national parties will thrive where there is inner party democracy. Unless you have inner party democracies in national parties, those national parties will cease to exist or cease to be important in future. This is something which I very sincerely and very strongly feel. Then we talk about devolution of resources. When we talk about devolution of resources, I had worked in both the central government and the state government. What I have seen when it comes to devolution of resources, the planning commission makes such schemes wherein it makes the state governments commit itself to fund their schemes, the central government scheme. So the state government is left with no other way out to fund their own schemes or to think independently. Something like Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission, which I saw as an urban development minister, where 35% of, like for Kolkata, for any big project in JNNURM, central government committed just 35%. Rest of the 65% was to be made available by the state government or by the urban local bodies. This is something which has to be done away with. The central government should allocate the amount of money, pass it on to the state government and local bodies, and then it should be up to the local bodies and state government how to spend, how much to spend. They should not be forced to put or pledge their amount of money into a particular scheme which the central government deliberately wants it to be implemented. Now, in case of many definitions, if you look at how the urban areas are defined by the census, the registrar of census society in India, the urban local bodies is defined. There are 3 parameters. The first is it should have a population of 5,000. 75% of the population should be in non-agriculture sector, and the population density should be more than 400 people per square kilometer. Using this definition, no hill areas of the country becomes urban. Using this definition, many of the areas which is sparsely populated fails to become urban. So the policies, definitions, as long as they don't take into account the ground reality, the state, what the state thinks, what the local people think, those policies will fail to exist. The third and most important thing is the Panchayati Raj institution. I would like to compliment my fellow panelists, Mr. Romano Abdullah. I think one of the biggest achievements of Jammu and Kashmir government was in the last 6 years that for the first time Panchayati Raj elections were held in Jammu and Kashmir, and I think this is one of the biggest achievements, single biggest achievement of Jammu and Kashmir. Unless you have functional Panchayati Raj institutions, the third layer of functional democratic setup in our country can't be called a true democracy. So I am in favor of this motion because I believe in democratization, I believe in decentralization, I believe in more power to the workers, I believe that power should flow down at the lowest level. Then only we'll be able to call ourselves a true democracy, a true thriving democracy. Thank you very much.
That was an incredible speech, Mr. Markan. Fantastic. You know, in moving from the center and decentralizing and moving away from the high command culture, you've put forward a great argument for the revival of the Indian National Congress. Fantastic. And now we go for the opening of the opposition by our lion cub, Mr. Abhishek Banerjee. We shall crown you king later, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by conveying my respect and regards to all of you present over here who are my seniors. And ironically, that would be almost all of you. My thanks to the Telegraph and all its sponsors, and a special thanks to the Calcutta Club for giving me this privilege to be here tonight and be present in this prestigious August annual debate. And in fact, it's an honor to be here among so many eminent personalities who have been a part of India's growth story. I, as a novice in politics and a new student to the School of Politics, but with strong convictions, rise here today to oppose the motion. And I will do that by starting off with a very small story. So let me narrate a very small yet simple story to all of you. There was a man who was obsessed with himself. And he was so obsessed with himself that he actually got a suit made with his name written all over it, right from the top to the bottom. His first name, his surname. His first name, his surname. And he actually got this suit made to wear it just once. And I'm sure by now all of you have understood which suit I'm talking about. No, it's not the suit all of you are thinking of. I'm not referring or talking about the suit which the Prime Minister of our country, Mr. Narendra Modi, wore on the Republic Day Eve when the
President of the United States of America came for the visit to our country. I am referring and talking about the special suit that was made by Hosni Mubarak. And we all know who Hosni Mubarak was. And he got this special suit made with Hosni Mubarak written all over it. Hosni Mubarak was not just a president of a particular state, province, or a city. Hosni Mubarak was the president of Egypt. And he ran it for a long period of 27 years. He ran that nation to the ground until people of Egypt had some other option. And as a consequence, we saw what? The country of Egypt witnessed uprising throughout the nation, not just a particular state, province, or a city. So the framing of the motion presupposes that politics is about the state, not about the nation. I strongly oppose because I robustly believe that if India needs to be stronger, its body parts, that is the states, has to be strong. No matter whether it's Gujarat or West Bengal. It doesn't matter whether it's Madhya Pradesh or Tamil Nadu. It doesn't matter whether it's Karnataka or Orissa. The state has to be strong if we need a stronger India. But do not think that the politics of New Delhi is same as the politics of the nation. Or the interest of New Delhi or the interest of Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan is same as the national interest. We have to first understand what is the difference between national interest and the interest of the current central government. Now, the current central government is elected by 100 crore people, but that is not run by 100 crore people. That is run by a set and a group of ministers, few bureaucrats, few secretaries, with one man on the top who we term as the Prime Minister of the country. And national interest is what? National interest is involving this 125 crore people and giving them the right to their life, the right to their education, and the right to their dignity of life. So that is something very different. If I have to ask all of you over here today, that do you wish one thing for Bengal and you wish something for India? Are your aspirations for Calcutta any different from the aspiration from the rest of the country? That is why the framers of the Constitution conceived our Constitution as a federal rather than making it unitary. And they followed the American motto of E pluribus unum, which means from many to one. So nation is nothing but a collection of states. We have to understand it first. And from many to one means from many states to one India. And there is absolutely no contradiction between the many and the one, between the states and the nation, between the growth of Bengal and the growth of India, between the growth of Bihar and the growth of Bharat. And I feel extremely pity and shameful when I see petty politics intruding in the path of growth and development, intruding in the path of augmentation. I feel pity when the states are neglected and denied their rights of development. Politics should always be inclusive. And when it's national politics, it has to be inclusive. What I'm trying to say is, a Gujarat shouldn't be given priority over an Orissa. A Rajasthan shouldn't be given a priority over a Tamil Nadu. Or Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra shouldn't be given priority over a West Bengal or Tripura. The center should treat all the states at par and at the same level. When I see people from the Northeast agitating and protesting in the streets of Delhi, it's not politics. They're not there to play state politics, or they're not there to join some political party and join the bandwagon with a drama. When they're protesting in the streets of Delhi, when they're agitating in the streets of Delhi, they're fighting for their rights. They're trying to gain a space in the national politics, and they're fighting for their democratic rights. They're fighting for their safety. They're fighting for their security. We as a nation needs to come together and work on it. That whether this person belongs from Assam, or he belongs from Tripura, or he belongs from Gujarat, or he belongs from Nagaland, or Tamil Nadu, or Karnataka, he is an Indian first. When you go to a different country, you never introduce yourself that I'm coming from Baliganj of Kolkata, or I'm coming from Nariman Point of Mumbai, or for that matter, Chandni Chowk of Delhi. You say, I'm an Indian, I come from India. Now that's the difference. That's what we need to understand. And if I have to give you another example of federalism, we all know that the country runs on taxes. And that is the beauty of federalism, because the country runs on taxes, and then there's a budget. Post the budget, there is a budgetary allocations, and then there are different schemes. And then the government claims that these schemes will benefit the poor. And if I have to tell you, then let me tell you that the government in the center takes away 45,000 crores of taxes every year from this state of West Bengal. But it doesn't bother us. It's a matter of immense pride and honor. Because if that money is taking and giving to a farmer who is sitting in the Aravalli district of Gujarat, where the Prime Minister of the country hails from, and he is getting benefited, I as Indian and we as Indian should be felt proud of. Because the Prime Minister of the country is an Indian, the Chief Minister of the state is an Indian, the Chief Minister of that state is an Indian, the farmer at that district is an Indian, and I, for Abhishek Banerjee, discussing the debate or talking in this debate at the launch of this Calcutta Club under this open sky is also an Indian. We need to understand that our country is the biggest democracy in the world. There was a time where our country was represented by great people. It was represented, governed and headed by people like Mahatma Gandhi. It was hidden and governed by people like Jawaharlal Nehru, the great Lal Bahadur Shastri, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. They never represented a state. They represented the nation as a whole. They represented the country as one. They represented India. When we celebrate Gandhi Jayanti, we don't celebrate Gandhi Jayanti in Porbandar district of Gujarat because he was born there. Or we don't celebrate in New Delhi because he was assassinated there or cremated in Rajghat. We do it in more than 640,000 villages. Similarly, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was, is, and always remain Bengal's pride. And when someone celebrates Netaji Jayanti in Gulbarg of Kashmir, or for that matter, Kanyakumari in Tamil Nadu, we as Indians feels proud of. That is the beauty of our democracy. That is the potential India has. That is the strength India has. That is the beauty. The former, I will just take one more time. Do I have? Thanks. Sure. Now that's the beauty of our democracy, let me tell you, and give you another very interesting example. We live in a country, we live in a democracy where you're talking of federalism. And in the same country, the former Chief Minister of Gujarat becomes the current Prime Minister of the country. The former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh becomes the Home Minister of the country. The former Railway Minister of the country becomes the Chief Minister of the state of West Bengal. And the former Finance Minister and the External Affairs Minister of the country, belonging from this soil, becomes the President of Republic of India. This is the aura our democracy has. I started with a very small story. Now let me engage you in a small mental exercise. I would like to tell all of you that India, if you look at the word India, you know, India has 5 letters. India has 5 letters. I-N-D-I-A. If I look at it more specifically and categorically, it is 4, because there are 2 I's. And we all know after the formation and inception of Telangana, India today has 29 states and 7 union territories. You try to spell one union territory or one state in your mind silently without using this 4-letter. Go ahead and do it.
Mr. Banerjee, you're giving us a bad reputation. I mean Banerjee's.
Sorry, sir. So that's what I was trying to say. You can't use or pronounce or spell a single state without using the letter I-N-D-A. So I would leave it with your judgment at that. I tried to express my arguments rationally, and I ended by expressing it symbolically. So whichever you look at it, rationally or symbolically, it's evident that Manipur lives in India and India lives in Manipur. Delhi resides in India and India resides in Delhi. If Bengal lives in the optimism of our heart, then India resides in the aspiration of our mind. That is the idea I want to live with you. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Thank you. Well, there goes. He was described as the baby of Parliament. Well, well, well. Wait till he grows up. Okay. To carry on now, we have somebody who has lots of color, lots of talent, and is known for his prowess at the carom board, which is a wonderful preoccupation of unemployed actors like me. So I look forward to hearing Babul Supriyo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I would really want to thank the Telegraph for giving me such a wonderful evening, where not only can I answer what my friend has just said within the stipulated time, being a law-abiding citizen, but also talk why I speak, why I rise to speak for the motion. You see, my time starts now, whichever way you want to take it. And I must tell you one thing, that we, the state and the center, we are chosen, or rather we are married by the people, for the people, of the people. And therefore, completely going on the other side of what my friend really wanted to say, though while trying to convince, he did confuse a little bit, he confused us. We were wondering whether he was speaking for us or against the motion. But I would not want to bring the language of Brigade Parade Ground here in the lawns of Calcutta, because I think there is a time that bounds us. There is a time that a marriage has to deliver. You know, you get married and remain married for 5 years, you don't produce a child, your mom and dad are going to ask you. You all know that, we have faced it. So let's face the truth. He talked about a suit and immediately went to Egypt. I've been to Egypt, it's a wonderful country. But talking about the suit of the Honorable Prime Minister, which is, you know, you understand things the way you understand, and I think all of you understood without standing up what he was trying to say. So, if you compare our Honorable Prime Minister, who's again chosen by all of you, with that of Egypt, I think we actually defeat the cause for which the people have elected us, to remain married and to produce children. You cannot fight divorce and produce children at the same time. And I would like to stress one small thing, that, you know, probably talking about the suit suits him, or suits the political scenario in the state, but it doesn't suit me, and that's where I'm wearing a white suit, where I want words of peace, words of walking together to be written on it. And I believe that, you know, it is the collection of the states that make up the nation. True. But the politics does not govern the way in which the central government works. I'll tell you why. Because the entire nation rises to elect the central government at the center. And thereafter, there is no competition there at the center, unless and until, you know, the center does something where it has to get into something which is lesser than 5 years. For those 5 years, the center has no competition. It needs to formulate the way, it needs to formulate the path that the entire country needs to work. Why? Because the country in itself, the collection of states, as my friend has rightly said, the collection of states is the one, they are the one who have chosen the Prime Minister to sit there at the center and to be the captain of the policy making of the country. And I think there should be no conflict in accepting the fact that yes, it is the center which decides which path we need to walk, and it is the state that needs to take the cue from what the center is giving. It needs to understand that, you know, politics can remain on Brigade Parade grounds. Politics can remain on the ground where we fight to get this power from all of you into our own hands, to give it back to you again in terms of producing those children, getting those projects, doing good work for the people. But the politics should not defeat the very cause for which you have chosen a government at the center, a government at the state. And I think that is one thing that has long been one of the biggest drawbacks of Indian politics, which is a federal system, which is a three-tier system, wherein the central government, the state government, and the urban local bodies need to work together, in my musical terms, in symphony, creating music and not noise, not political noise, in the ears of the people who have long been tired listening to all these kinds of, you know, blame games happening between this and that. If you remain in marriage And if yours is a gono bibaho, where the public has got you married in the state and in the center, then stay together and produce children. Do something where the future can look at, because you produce children for the future, right? And I kind of had a different path that I needed to talk today. I needed to talk a different path, but I need to answer a few questions that were raised by my friend Mr. Banerjee. And with my huge political experience of about 10 months, I can assure you that I've understood that it is the states which get into petty politics where they want to just theoretically go against the center, because it is about gaining political ground. But while they gain political ground by talking that language, what happens is they lose ground in the arena of trust. And that is the ground that politicians need to achieve today. You know, I come from the background of Bollywood, and you know, where we see in the pictures, in films, politics has been promoted as a bad word. It is a bad word. Politicians are bad. You know, they do the wrongest thing while talking about the right things that they need to do for the country. And that is what we need to change. And if we have someone at the center, someone as dynamic as Sri Narendra Modi ji, who can wear his dreams on his sleeve, if not the entire suit, it suits the country. Trust me, and the suit is pun intended. I just want the states to take cue out of what the center is trying to give them. You know what? My friend Ajay Makanji, who's a hugely, is a huge, not only a huge leader of the Congress, but also a very experienced man in politics and in economics of politics. There is an economics in politics, and he just told me, I am aware of that, though he says, it suits him. He says that previously it used to be that 32% of the shares of taxes went to the states. He says that it is right now, as was suggested by the 14th Finance Commission, which was set up by the Congress government in January 2013. This government have accepted it, and the taxes that goes to the taxes that go to the states is actually gone up from 32% to 42%. But I say that it is not 42%; it is 62%. And let me give you a small stat there. In 2014-2015, 3.82 lakh crore went to the states. In 2015-16. The amount of taxes that the states get is 5.23 lakh crore, which is much more than what it used to be previously. You know, it is very important to understand that in this country of federal politics, when I went to Bombay to get into Bollywood, I sat on a three-tier train, and while I think of the three-tier train, it makes me nostalgic and also makes me understand politics. Our politics is like the three-tier train compartment, where we have an upper berth, the middle berth, and the lower berth. The upper berth is the central government, the middle one is the state government, the lower one is that of the urban local bodies. But the train goes in one direction. It knows what is the goal it has to reach. It knows which is the station it has to reach, and all three of them go together. Yes, you might have one person sitting on top and sleeping during the night, but when the light of the day comes, trust me, you all know that the person sitting on the top berth and in the middle berth, they need to come down and sit in the lower berth, which is that of the urban local bodies. And that is the point that I want to make, that we need to understand that yes, we need to fight our politics on the road. We need to speak of Brigade Parent Ground, but we need to take the cues. We need to walk the path that the Prime Minister, who is chosen by the very nation, the very India that you spelled wrongly as INDA, it is INDIA. But that is the country that has chosen the Prime Minister, like it is state of West Bengal, which has chosen our Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal, which is Mamata Banerjee ji. And therefore we need to have mutual respect. It is mutual respect that is going to take us together, that is going to make us not walk the path, but talk the path, talk the walk, and make things happen, because we need to understand that in this federal structure, the train needs to reach the destination, and I have reached the destination point of my debate. I need to end here, but I will break a little bit of law by just quoting a Robert Frost poem at the end of it, which I kind of took the liberty to edit a little bit. You know, the CM can say, the Chief Minister can say, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though, but he or she cannot say that he will not see me stopping here. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow or with fire, because ours is a hot country. Because it is the CM who knows the way there, and it is the CM who needs to hold the hand of the PM to take him there, make him understand what the problem is, what is that is lying there, because there are fire there and that is there in the woods, and that is the reason we have a 3-time Chief Minister as our Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Abhishek Banerjee, for giving me that point. We have a Home Minister who have been the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, and yes, we do have the Defence Minister who has been a very successful and popular CM in Goa. We have miles to go before we sleep. We do have miles to go before we sleep, because you know what? The people of the state, they are not here to weep that stop blaming the center. We got you married. Let's walk together, because we need to work together and need to work together, because we do have miles to go before we sleep. Thank you.
Thank you. That was all about comparing noise and harmony and the production of children on Brigade Parade Ground. Right? Now we move to, I don't know why the introduction called him, Bhaiya from Bihar in Mumbai. But we go to Mr. Sanjay Nirupam, who's in a hurry. He has to catch a flight, and he might speak in Bhojpuri.
नमस्कार। सबसे पहले मैं टेलीग्राफ, एपीबी ग्रुप और अवीक बाबू का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा। कलकत्ता क्लब का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा कि कलकत्ता का वन ऑफ द मोस्ट प्रेस्टीजियस जो डिबेट है, उस डिबेट में मुझे बुलाया गया। मैं मोशन के खिलाफ खड़ा हूँ क्योंकि मैं एक देशभक्त हूँ, क्योंकि मैं एक कट्टर राष्ट्रवादी इंसान हूँ, क्योंकि मैं भारत को टूटने का कोई भी खतरा देखना नहीं चाहता। पॉलिटिक्स ओरिजिनली समाज सेवा का एक माध्यम माना जाता है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारे देश में पॉलिटिक्स कुर्सी हथियाने का माध्यम, सत्ता ग्रैब करने का माध्यम, और जिस तरीके से राज्यों में पॉलिटिक्स हो रही है वो बहुत ज्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव हो रही है। और जब बहुत ज्यादा कॉम्पिटिटिव हो जाती है और कुर्सी कोई हथियाना चाहता है, तब कभी भी वो देश के हित के खिलाफ जा सकता है। आई एम नॉट अगेंस्ट पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ स्टेट, बट it should not be at the cost of national interest. Unfortunately, this kind of जो एक ट्रेंड है निकल करके आ रहा है हमारे देश में, इसलिए मैं इस मोशन के खिलाफ यहां पर खड़ा हूं। तो 3 बातें बताऊंगा मैं। उमर हमारे जम्मू कश्मीर के चीफ मिनिस्टर रहे हैं, अभी नई सरकार वहां पे आई है, और मैंने सुना कि वहां पर जो बीजेपी और पीडीपी के बीच जो कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम साइन हुआ है, उसमें एक प्रोविजन ये है कि इंडो पाक टॉक्स होने चाहिए। ये सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की जवाबदारी है, पूरे देश की चिंता है, लेकिन राज्य में एक सरकार बनाने के लिए ऐसी शर्त राज्य की एक पार्टी रखे, मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं नेशनल इंटरेस्ट आगे जाके हर्ट हो सकता है। दूसरी बड़ी बात यह है कि जब पीडीपी जैसी पार्टियां एक सरकार बनाती हैं, उनके साथ बगल में प्रधानमंत्री होते हैं, तो पीडीपी जैसी पार्टी जो थोड़ी सी प्रो मिलिटेंट पार्टी रही है, अपने मिलिटेंसी का जो प्रो मिलिटेंट जो उसकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी है उसको केटर करने के लिए वहां पर जिस प्रकार का बयान दिया है वो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के खिलाफ था। और मुझे लगता है, मुझे बहुत दुख हुआ कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री भी वहां कुछ नहीं बोल पाए थे बेचारे। उन्होंने कहा कि जम्मू कश्मीर में अगर शांतिपूर्वक चुनाव हुए तो उस चुनाव कराने में हुर्रियत और पाकिस्तान का भी बहुत बड़ा सहयोग है। मैं कंडेम करता हूं, और इस तरह की कंडेम करने वाली बातें बहुत सारी निकल के आ सकती है देश में। एक उदाहरण देता हूं, अभिषेक ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही, मिस्टर बैनर्जी ने, लेकिन जब यूपीए की सरकार थी तब हमारी सरकार ने एक प्रपोजल दिया था मल्टी ब्रांड रिटेल में एफडीआई का। ममता दीदी को मैं व्यक्तिगत तौर पर जानता हूं, वो इतनी भी ज्यादा लेफ्ट टू सेंटर नहीं है। एक ओवरऑल, जैसे कांग्रेस, बेसिकली कांग्रेस से निकल के आई है, तो कांग्रेस का जो एक अप्रोच है उस अप्रोच को समझती हूं, लेकिन उन्होंने इसका विरोध किया था। क्यों विरोध किया था? क्योंकि इसके विरोध में सीपीएम थी। सीपीएम के साथ कंपीट करना है, और चूंकि सीपीएम के साथ कंपीट करना है, चूंकि वेस्ट बंगाल का इलेक्शन सर पे है, चूंकि वेस्ट बंगाल का इलेक्शन जीतना है हमको, तो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के खिलाफ भी जाया जा सकता है। ऐसा ममता दीदी ने उस समय एक प्रदर्शन किया था। तीस्ता नदी के का जो वोटर शेयरिंग एग्रीमेंट था बांग्लादेश के साथ, वो विषय भी मुझे याद है कि अनावश्यक रूप से दीदी ने वो एक स्टैंड ले लिया था। ठीक है, मैं यहां पर कलकत्ता में आके दीदी के खिलाफ कुछ बोलूंगा तो शायद सुरक्षित नहीं जा पाऊंगा, मुझे माफ करिएगा। देखिए मैं एक कॉन्सेप्ट दे रहा हूं, अभिषेक डोंट माइंड, मतलब मुझ पे गुस्सा मत होना आप। मैं एक कॉन्सेप्ट दे रहा हूं कि कई बार स्टेट की पॉलिटिक्स इतनी कॉम्पिटिटिव हो जाती है कि वो जो रीजनलिज्म का खतरा है वो देश को तोड़ सकता है, देश को बिगाड़ सकता है। मैं उस स्टेट से आता हूं जहां सबसे ज्यादा रीजनल पॉलिटिक्स चलती है, और उस रीजनल पॉलिटिक्स का खतरा इस समय हमारे सिद्धार्थनाथ सिंह की पार्टी झेल रही है। शिवसेना वहां सत्ता में है और रोज अपने रीजनल पॉलिटिक्स को केटर करने के लिए इस प्रकार के स्टैंड लेते हैं कि कभी भी बीजेपी उसको एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकती, बल्कि एवरीडे एम्बैरेसमेंट ऑफ बीजेपी हो रहा है वहां पे। जब कुछ ऐसे सेक्टर हैं जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के कंट्रोल में होने चाहिए और वहां पर स्टेट को इन्वॉल्व नहीं होना चाहिए, उसको फॉरेन पॉलिसी, टैक्सेशन वाला इशू। चिदंबरम जब हमारे होम मिनिस्टर हुआ करते थे तो उन्होंने एक विषय दिया था, एक एंटी टेरर एजेंसी बनाना चाहते थे। बीजेपी ने विरोध किया। बीजेपी ने हमेशा जब वो अपोजिशन में रहती है तो हमारी सारी पॉलिसी का विरोध करती है, और जब सत्ता में आती है तो हमारी सारी पॉलिसी को कंटिन्यू करती है। वो आप देख रहे होंगे अभी इस समय बहुत अच्छे ढंग से। बीजेपी ने विरोध किया, मैं समझ सकता हूं अपोजिशन पार्टी वो विरोध कर रहे हैं, लेकिन दीदी ने भी विरोध किया और भी लोगों ने विरोध किया अनावश्यक रूप से। देश के पूरी सुरक्षा को खतरा है और उस खतरे को कैसे टाला जाए इसके लिए चिंता करने की जवाबदारी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की होती है। और वो गवर्नमेंट अगर देश के इंटरेस्ट में कोई कानून बनाना चाहती है, कोई व्यवस्था बनाना चाहती है, तो उस व्यवस्था के खिलाफ सिर्फ पॉलिटिक्स करने के लिए नहीं होना चाहिए। अनफॉर्चुनेटली स्टेट पॉलिटिक्स सिर्फ पॉलिटिक्स बन गई है और उस पॉलिटिक्स के खिलाफ हमको खड़ा होना पड़ेगा, वरना आज हम बहुत गर्व से कहते हैं इंडियन हैं, इस इंडियन के ऊपर कहीं ना कहीं लोग चोट पहुंचाने के दृष्टिकोण से काम कर रहे हैं। चाहे जो छोटे छोटे सब, मुझे याद आ रहा है आपका तमिलनाडु का हिस्सा, अब श्रीलंका का राष्ट्रपति आए कि नहीं आए, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने, नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने अपने ओथ टेकिंग सेरेमनी में उनको बुलाया। सबसे पहले विरोध कौन कर रहा है? तमिलनाडु के लोग। आपके अपने सेंटीमेंट हो सकते हैं लेकिन हर चीज का डेकोरम है साहब। लेकिन पहले एआईडीएमके विरोध करेगी, अब एआईडीएमके ने विरोध किया तो तमिल इंटरेस्ट को सर्व कर रही है, तो उसके ऊपर अब डीएमके और कड़ा विरोध करेगी। तो ये जो कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिटिक्स चल रहा है, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी डेंजरस। दैट इज व्हाट आई वांट टू मेक, दैट इज मेन पॉइंट आई वांट टू मेक टुडे बिफोर कलकत्ता क्लब के जो हमारे सारे यहाँ पर पूरे कलकत्ता के बड़े जाने माने इंटेलेक्चुअल लोग यहाँ पर पहुंचे हुए हैं। जीएसटी जैसे कानून जब आएंगे तो देश मजबूत होगा। हम जब थे सत्ता में, हम बार बार जीएसटी के ऊपर फोकस करना चाह रहे थे, बीजेपी के लोगों ने सपोर्ट नहीं किया, बीजेपी के लोगों ने पूरी कोशिश की कि इसको रोका। आज मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है कि जीएसटी आ रहा है, लेकिन जीएसटी के साथ साथ कहीं ना कहीं दिल्ली में जो प्रधानमंत्री साहब बैठे हैं उनको वो स्टेट पॉलिटिक्स के उस दबाव से, प्रभाव से निकलना पड़ेगा। उसका एक उदाहरण देता हूं, जो बनर्जी साहब कहना चाह रहे हैं उसमें एक बहुत बड़ा सार है। चिदंबरम साहब जो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर थे उन्होंने एक अनाउंसमेंट किया था कि इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस सेंटर विल बी सेटअप इन दिल्ली, इन मुंबई। क्यों मुंबई? क्योंकि मुंबई इज ए इंटरनेशनल सिटी एंड इट हैज बिकम ए बिजनेस हब। इस बजट में अरुण जेटली साहब ने सजेस्ट किया है कि दैट बिजनेस सेंटर विल बी शिफ्टेड टू गुजरात। सिर्फ गुजरात से अतिरिक्त प्रेम है वो वहां लेके जा रहा है। ये नहीं होना चाहिए। आपको प्रधानमंत्री बनाया देश के सारे लोगों ने चुन के, तो आपको निश्चित तौर पर देश के हर राज्य के बारे में बराबर के दृष्टिकोण से सोचना चाहिए। और बराबर के दृष्टिकोण से तब आप सोचेंगे जब आप स्टेट के पैरोकियल अप्रोच और रीजनल अप्रोच से बाहर निकलेंगे। अनफॉर्चुनेटली बहुत कम इस तरह के प्रकरण अभी निकल के आ रहे हैं। मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है सिद्धार्थनाथ सिंह जी आज हमारे साथ खड़े और नेशनल पर्सपेक्टिव रखना चाहते हैं और नेशन के इंटरेस्ट में, नेशनल के जो पूरे राष्ट्रीय हमारा सोच है उस सोच के हक में है। और इस देश को बनाने के लिए लाखों लोगों ने शहादत दी है। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस से लेकर के गांधी जी ने कितनी मेहनत की, नेहरू जी ने कितनी मेहनत की, कितना संघर्ष किया, कितने आंदोलन किए, कितने साल जेल में रहे वो लोग। अब जिन लोगों ने, हमारे पूर्वजों ने इस देश को बनाने के लिए, आजाद कराने के लिए इतनी लड़ाई लड़ी, उस देश का बाल भी बाका न हो, ऐसा हमारा संकल्प है। और इसी संकल्प की वजह से मैं इस मोशन के खिलाफ खड़ा हूं। स्टेट में पॉलिटिक्स हो, स्टेट को मजबूत करिए, लेकिन स्टेट की पॉलिटिक्स नेशनल इंटरेस्ट की कीमत पर न हो। इतना ही मुझे आज कहना है। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी हियर। शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू सर। बिल्कुल। एंड वी विल से সঞ্জয় বাবু के আমরা শুভ যাত্রা জানাই। हाँ क्या शुभ यात्रा, हाँ शुभ यात्रा। No, no, it's very fascinating that you think that the business center should be, in Bombay and not in Gujarat. And we in Calcutta believe that Calcutta has been the business center all along. Every money bag that you talk about comes from here. So, isn't it? There you go. So we are. So no matter what they say on this panel, we remain the business hub of India. Right. Now to the man who makes me jealous because of my hairstyle. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Respected moderator, my fellow colleagues and speakers in the dais, and all respected people present who have gathered here. It's a matter of great honor and privilege that I am here presenting my views, and I stand here to support the motion. And I just want to share with you that today morning, I was earlier a late riser before becoming an MP. But after becoming an MP, 7 o'clock, I have to be awake. So today morning, when I woke up and saw the Telegraph Metro page in which my picture along with the pictures of others were there it was written, the All India GS of SFI and the CPIM Rajya Sabha MP is the young one in a party of old men. So that Telegraph believes, may other people also believe, but our party, a party of young, old, a combination of both. We believe, I just want to mention, because before I speak before you as I am presenting my views, we believe when we speak about politics, I am supporting the motion. To me, politics, this is a very interesting thing that I learned in my days. It was not South Point, but the refugee colonies of Jadavpur that shaped my adherence to left politics. I learned there that two young men many years ago were discussing politics among each other. A young man in his mid-20s wrote a letter to his friend that I was thinking what is politics. And after many days of thinking what is politics, I felt that politics is nothing but a theater where battle of ideas are performed. The other man, he was also in his mid-20s, immediately wrote back in his another letter. He wrote to his friend, yes, you are absolutely correct. Politics is a theater where battle of ideas are performed. But he went on and he wrote that the ideas of the ruling class in every epoch are the ruling ideas. Not only this, the class which has at its disposal the means of material production also in turns controls the means of mental production. So there lies everything. When I stand here, the first line of our constitution, the holy book, that is the greatest holy book in our country, that constitution, it categorically says, India, that is Bharat, not Hindustan, India, that is Bharat, is an union of states. There lies the answer to everything, because it is an union of states. And as Omar Abdullah is sitting here, I was telling him that I was a small kid. I'm born in 79. At 83, I was a very young man. At that time, I did not know. But later, I came to know that in 83, many political parties, including my party, CPIM, in Srinagar, there was a conclave. And in that conclave, my leader, Jyoti Babu, had categorically said, contrary to what is generally argued, the devolution of economic powers, resources, and decision-making, instead of weakening the center, would actually strengthen the base. The fact was that within a year after that conclave was there, the Farooq Abdullah government was dismissed by Article 356. Article 356, Article 355 has been repeatedly used and misused continuously. So when we stand here to support the motion, the major point is, I will just want to suffice you with an example. 54% of the population in our country, that's the latest government data in the parliament, 54% of the population has an average age of 25 years. Now the question is, that is politics precisely, whether you look upon this population as a liability or as a resource. Successive central governments and presently the new government coming to power, Victor Banerjee was speaking about it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But the reality is that in our country, where in the age group of 17 to 23 years, only 12 Indian youth out of every 100 gets an opportunity to go to the colleges and the universities. The spending on education, because that is politics. When we are telling that you increase spending in education, the states and the center, the states together, the central government spend, the state government spend. But the budget which has been presented, after that budget, we are looking at the education sector. There is a cut in the resources. The budget has come down. And the promise that the country made many years ago that 6% of its GDP would be spent on education, it is nowhere near that. And the point That is basically now, when the states are demanding, there was a discussion, Babul was speaking, this 42% from 32 to 42, a long demand has been this 50%, and most interestingly, definitely there has been some increase in the spending, but all the schemes that has been transferred to the states. So when we are here, when we speak about that, because without the states, I learned also in the colonies of Jadavpur, because I used to see long processions and long marches with red flags there when I was a kid there in my adolescence. There I also learned that theory without practice is lame and practice without theory is blind. And very unfortunately, when in a country like ours where nothing can be straitjacketed, unity in diversity is the key thing in our country, there what is happening, this is politics coming into play where the states are denied of their rights. And when you look into the spending, because I am categorically telling that this point is a very important point when we are saying that we have to look forward. 54% of the population has an average age of 25 years. You are not spending on education. That's where precisely the politics play its role. Now, I want to mention before you another important point. I am indebted to Mani Shankar Iyer in the parliament because he told me about that book. After he told me about that book, I went to read that book. That book, the name of the book is The Biography of a Dangerous Idea. Biography of a Dangerous Idea, it's written by Charles Saifi. Now, what is a dangerous idea? There he argued that it is zero. Zero is a dangerous idea. Now, the Arabs are credited for inventing zero. Basically, Indians, we have invented zero. Anyhow, the Arabs later told that yes, Indians have invented zero. Now, zero, if you look into mathematics, present day mathematics also, zero and infinite, they exist together. They have to exist because zero is incomplete without infinity. That is basically the unity of opposites. And when I am supporting this motion, I just want to present before this house because this unity of opposites is very important. Whatever political idea may be there, because it's in India, that is Bharat, is an union of states. The states, all the states together form this country. And when we speak about the unity, this unity in diversity and the unity of opposites, whatever may be the politics, but if we want to uphold the idea of India, if the idea of India has to be strengthened, if the idea of India has to be carried forward, this unity of opposites, as far as the administration is concerned, as far as this policy decision is concerned, and as far, because in a country like ours, it's basically a two countries existing within a country, a shining India is there and a suffering India is there. So in that context, I just want to mention one more, because when we speak about more power to the states, we are continuously telling that more power in the hands of the states are necessary, because without that, India will not go forward. If you want to take India forward, there may be GDP growth, but if India wants to go forward, this more power and more resources in the hands of the states are very much necessary. Now, when we speak about the unity of opposites, and I believe this unity of opposites will ultimately lead us to the battle of ideas, because that is precisely politics is. And by this battle of ideas, as this continues, it will continue. The battle of ideas between all of us. We are seated here on this side, on that side. There will be battle of ideas. Let this battle of ideas continue. But let the country enrich itself from this battle of ideas and let the country move forward. And this is not a context, but still, as we are sitting here in the city of Kolkata, it's a very prestigious place we are sitting here, and we have a very old heritage, this city, this part of the country. It has its old traditions. Sanjay ji, he has left. He was speaking about, because speaking something in Bengal has been a very difficult proposition in this period of time. And I just once again, before supporting the motion, just want to bow down to respect the memories of Suzette Jordan in the city of Calcutta. Suzette Jordan, she has died yesterday, and because she was a champion of battle of ideas. So let the battle of ideas overflow everywhere, overflow and flow, and this battle of ideas will only be strengthened when this unity of opposites will be enforced. Thank you.
My God, I've missed that for 30 years. Where were you when we needed you? No, the unity of opposites, right. We will talk about the unity of opposites and from zero to infinity with our great Mr. Majhi. Aye, sahab. I wish you luck. You will be like a maji fishing in troubled waters here in Calcutta.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और सबसे पहले मैं ये कहूँगा कि मैं ट्रबल में नहीं हूँ, मैं बहुत खुशगवार हूँ और बहुत अच्छी स्थिति में हूँ। विक्टर बनर्जी साहब और उपस्थित यहाँ पर सभी प्रतिभागी विद्वानगण और हमारे सामने उपस्थित सभी ऑडियंसगण, सबसे पहले सचमुच में हम अनुग्रहित हैं और साधुवाद करना चाहते हैं टेलीग्राफ को कि जिन्होंने एक तरफ मेरे ऐसे नाचीज़ को मौका दिया यहाँ पर आने का, और दूसरी चीज़ कि एक अहम मुद्दा जो मौजूद मुद्दा है आज देश के सामने, उस पर डिबेट हो रहा है। ये दोनों चीज़ बहुत अहम है। इसके लिए हम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हैं, शुक्रगुजारी करते हैं। हम मोशन के अगेंस्ट में बात करना चाहते हैं, वही मुझे टॉपिक दिया भी गया है। तो इस संदर्भ में हम कहना चाहते हैं कि स्ट्रॉन्ग सेंटर ही देश की रक्षा, राज्य की रक्षा कर सकता है। और इसका उदाहरण है, हम कह सकते हैं कि आज प्रेसिडेंशियल टाइप ऑफ गवर्नमेंट अमेरिका में है, राष्ट्रपति सशक्त है, तो हम समझते हैं कि आज अमेरिका समस्त संसार में अपना धाक जमाने में कामयाब हुआ है। अगर कुछ और पीछे चलें तो हम कह सकते हैं कि आतातुर्क कमाल पाशा टर्की में एक होकर के, मजबूत होकर के सारे टर्की को ठीक करने का काम किया। हम रसा का उदाहरण हम देखना चाहते हैं, बताना चाहते हैं कि रसा में जब वहाँ स्ट्रॉन्ग राष्ट्रपति हुआ करते थे, सारी बातें ठीक थी। जब कुछ कमज़ोर हुआ सेंटर, तो आज रसा कई एक भागों में बंट गया है। इसी प्रकार से वर्ल्ड के कई एक हमारे कंट्री हैं जिनको हमने देखा है कि स्ट्रॉन्ग गवर्नमेंट, स्ट्रॉन्ग सेंटर, स्ट्रॉन्ग लीडरशिप नहीं होने के कारण वहाँ की दुर्गति हो पाती है। और आज जब हम हिंदुस्तान की बात करते हैं तो ये बात सही है, अनेकों राज्यों में हम बटे हुए हैं। हमारी भाषा, संस्कृति, वेशभूषा और भौगोलिकल जो टोपोग्राफी है वो हमारा सब भिन्न भिन्न है। वैसे स्थिति में सब कोई राज्य की, अगर राजनीति की बात होगी तो राज्य अपने ढंग से बात करेंगे। हो सकता है एक राज्य अपने इंटरेस्ट की बात करे तो दूसरे राज्य के इंटरेस्ट से उसका क्लैश हो सकता है। एक भाषा की बात करे तो दूसरे राज्य की भाषा से उसका क्लैश हो सकता है। धर्म की भी बात जहाँ तक आती है, यहाँ विभिन्न धर्मों का जमाव है। अगर एक धर्म की बात कोई करता हो तो अलग धर्मों या दूसरे राज्यों के लिए वो अलग बात हो सकती है। वैसी स्थिति में यदि केंद्र मजबूत नहीं रहे, केंद्र की राजनीति हम नहीं करेंगे, तो निश्चित है कि हमारा देश जो आज अनेकों राज्यों का संघ है और सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने और हमारे पूर्ववर्ती जो हमारे राजनीतिक महानुभाव थे, बहुत मेहनत और बहुत मशक्कत के साथ आज हिंदुस्तान को एक करने का काम किया। और बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने और उनके साथियों ने मिल करके एक स्ट्रॉन्ग संविधान दिया। अगर वो स्ट्रॉन्ग संविधान जिसमें संघात्मक ढांचा है हमारा, अगर उसको हम बर्बाद कर देंगे, उसको अगर हम तोड़ देंगे, तो हिंदुस्तान को टूटने से और गुलाम होने से कोई नहीं बचा सकता है। इसलिए हमारा फर्वेंट उम्मीद है, फर्वेंट विश्वास है कि हिंदुस्तान का जो हमारा सेंटर है उसके संबंध में हम लोगों को बात करनी चाहिए, उसको मजबूत करनी चाहिए, उसकी राजनीति हमें करनी चाहिए। और नहीं तो हम लोग बिहार में हम कहना चाहते हैं, बिहार में एक प्रवर्स है, अधिक जोगी मठ उखाड़। अगर अनेक राज्य अपने ढंग से सिर उठाने लगेंगे, अपनी बात करने लगेंगे, तो मठ उखाड़ का मतलब है कि केंद्र बर्बाद हो जाएगा। और जब केंद्र बर्बाद हो जाएगा, केंद्र जब टूट जाएगा, तो चाहे उसको बाहरी शत्रुओं का सामना करना पड़े या समस्त हिंदुस्तान में एज ए होल कोई कलामिटी आवेगा, उसको सामना करने की बात आएगी, तो हम समझते हैं वो आज सक्षम होकर के काम करना पड़ेगा उनको, उसमें उनको हर तरह से असफलता मिलेगी। तो इसलिए इस हित में भी हम कहना चाहते हैं कि केंद्र सशक्त होना चाहिए, राजनीति उसी की होनी चाहिए। हाँ, एक बात है, जब डेमोक्रेसी और जमहूरियत जब हमने अपनाया है तो बात सही है कि जो हमारा लीडरशिप है, लीडरशिप का जो चुनाव होने की बात होती है, तो वहाँ पर हम इस रूप में चुनेंगे। हम दल की बात नहीं कहते हैं, लेकिन एक टॉवरिंग पर्सनालिटी और लीडरशिप की बात करना चाहते हैं कि जो देश के बारे में सर्वांगीण विकास की बात करता है, सब धर्म संप्रदाय और संस्कृति के लोग के, भाषा के लोग को लेकर के चलने की बात करता है, सब राज्य में समन्वय काम करने का, समन्वय रूप में वो अपना विश्वास करता है, जिसका एक हमें रामायण में एक बात आई है, मुखिया मुख सो चाहिए, खान पान में एक, पालत पोषण सकल जग, तुलसी सहित विवेक। इस प्रकार का अगर हमारा केंद्र में शासक होता है, केंद्र में प्रधानमंत्री होता है, तो निश्चित रूप में है उसके हाथों में समूचा हिंदुस्तान के जितने भी राज हैं उनका भविष्य सुरक्षित है। और अगर वो कमजोर होगा तो हर तरह से कहीं भाषा की झगड़ा होगी, कहीं बाउंड्री की झगड़ा है, कहीं विदेशियों की बात आ जाती है। अभी आपने हमारे साथियों ने कहा, तमिल की बात कही कि तमिलनाडु में क्या बातें होती है, वो कभी लंका की बात करते, कभी इधर की बात करते, कभी उधर की। ये सब क्या है? ये हमारे कमजोरी का, केंद्र की कमजोरी का एक द्योतक है और पहचान है। अगर केंद्र में सशक्त शक्ति हो और हर तरह से ठीक हो तो हम समझते हैं कि राज कोई नहीं बोल सकता है। और ये बात हम भी कहना चाहते हैं कि राज कमजोर नहीं हो, ये अलग बात है, राज किसी प्रकार से अविकसित नहीं हो, ये भी एक बात है, लेकिन ये नहीं है कि वो माथा पर चढ़ करके केंद्र पर अपना वर्चस्व जमावे और उंगली दिखला करके अपने काम करने की बात करेगा। अगर वैसा करेगा तो निश्चित है कि दूसरे राज्यों का हक को, दूसरे राज्यों के हिस्सा को लेकर के वो अपना, जिस तरह से एक मछली जो तालाब में होती है, बड़ी मछली होती है, मांसाहारी होती है, दूसरे लोगों को खाना खा करके अपना देह मजबूत कर लेती है, उसी प्रकार से अगर उंगली दिखा करके काम लेने की बात होगी तो बहुत से ऐसे राज हैं जो अपना सारा काम करेंगे। और जो ऐसे राज है जिसके पास धन नहीं है, साक्षरता में वो डाउन है, हर दृष्टि से कमजोर है, तो उसको जहां के तहां उसको रह जाना पड़ेगा। तो कहने का मतलब कि केंद्र स्ट्रांग होगा तो हमारे राज्य भी स्ट्रांग होगा और उसको बाहरी और आंतरिक सभी कामों से, सभी आशंकाओं से और खतरों से वो निश्चित रूप में वो सुरक्षित रहेगा। इसलिए हम कहना चाहते हैं कि केंद्र की राजनीति होनी चाहिए, सशक्त होनी चाहिए। और इस आधार पर हम कहना चाहते हैं कि केंद्र को किसी तरह से कमजोर होने की बात नहीं है। हम उदाहरण देना चाहते हैं, ठीक है, एक ईंट हम बनाते हैं, ब्रिक जिसको आप लोग कहते हैं, एक ईंट बनाते हैं, राज एक ईंट के माप में है, ईंट बनना चाहिए, लेकिन ईंट की परिकल्पना क्या है, एक ईंट क्या कर सकता है? अगर वही ईंट जोड़ करके हम मकान बनाते हैं, हम कासल बना देते हैं, भवन बना देते हैं, तो उसी प्रकार से ईंट की कल्पना हो, लेकिन ईंट एक जोड़ करके एक भवन रूपी हमारा स्ट्रॉन्ग केंद्र बनाएगा, तभी हम समझते हैं कि हमारा देश सुरक्षित रह पाएगा। यही हम कहना चाहते हैं आज के संदर्भ में। तो हर दृष्टिकोण से केंद्र को कमजोर होने से राज्य भी कमजोर होगा, हर लोग कमजोर होगा। आज अभी हम उदाहरण देना चाहते हैं, घंटी बजी है, महिला बिल आया था। हम समझते हैं कि आज 50% से थोड़ा सा नीचे महिलाओं की संख्या है। महिलाओं के बारे में कहा गया है कि वो पिछड़ा है, लेकिन जब महिला बिल पास होने की बात आती है तो आप देखते हैं कौन स्टेट उसका विरोध करता है, किस आधार पर विरोध करता है। कमजोर हमारा केंद्र है जिसके लिए महिला बिल पास नहीं हो पाता। अगर महिला हमारा केंद्र मजबूत हो जाए तो महिला बिल पास होगा और पास होने के बाद सभी महिलाओं का हिंदुस्तान में कल्याण होगा, जो बहुत आवश्यक है। इस तरह से रोक लग जाती है हमारे विकास के काम में और जस्टिस के काम में। तो हम समझते हैं केंद्र को मजबूत होना चाहिए। और इनस्टेबिलिटी की बात आती है, जो केंद्रीय रीजनल पार्टियां होती है अपना ढंग से महत्वाकांक्षा से अपना काम करते हैं, और महत्वाकांक्षा के सामने में जो सोशल जस्टिस है और जो सचमुच में जस्टिस की बात है उसको दरकिनार करके सत्ता ग्रैब करने की लड़ाई करता है, वो विकास नहीं होता है। अगर केंद्र मजबूत होता है, हम कांग्रेस की राजनीति को देखा है कि अगर उसके पास बहुमत भी नहीं थी एमएलए का, लेकिन समझा जाता था कि वो मुख्यमंत्री बहुत करप्ट है, तो केंद्र से बात आ जाती थी, उनको हटा दिया जाता था, राज्य में शांति कायम होती थी। लेकिन आज हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग कर करके, अनेक प्रकार की बात कर करके ऐसा इनह्यूमन काम किया जाता है, पॉलिटिक्स को इनस्टेबिलिट किया जाता है, जिसके चलते वातावरण खराब होता है। इसलिए हमारा कहना है हर हालत में केंद्र को मजबूत होना चाहिए। और जो ये रीजनल पार्टीइज्म चला है, हर जगहों में रीजनल पार्टियों की बात आई है, हम समझते हैं कि देश के सुरक्षा में ये उसके हेल्थ के लिए ठीक नहीं है। इसलिए हम इस पक्ष में निश्चित रूप में कहना चाहते हैं कि केंद्र को मजबूत होना चाहिए, हमें केंद्र की राजनीति करनी चाहिए, न कि राज्य की राजनीति करते हैं। दूसरी बार घंटी बज गई है, आपने मुझे मौका दिया, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
बहुत धन्यवाद। हमें अच्छा लगा कि आपको घंटी नहीं सुनाई दी। Now we turn to young and the ladies' man. He was described as a ladies' man on Twitter, right? Mr. Omar Abdullah, who we're all looking forward to hear him speak. Not only because he's a wonderful speaker, but also because he comes from a state and represented a state where the motion is extremely valid today. So there will be a great deal of relevance in whatever he says, although I'm sure he will pepper it with the kind of humor that Calcutta loves. Over to you.
Mr. Moderator, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset I'd like to thank Avik Sarkar Sahab, the Telegraph, Calcutta Club for this opportunity to be here amongst all of you this evening. For me, the subject was self-evident. It is about the states, and for me, there was never any dispute in this. What has actually surprised me is the makeup of the panels, because I came here with a preconceived notion that those arguing in favor of the argument of the proposition would be from the regional parties, and those arguing against the proposition would be from the national political parties, and it would be very cut and dry. So imagine my surprise when I found on my team I had Ajay Makan Sahab batting for the motion, and I had Mr. Banerjee batting against the motion. The way the debate progressed, fortunately, I'm in the unique position of having to pinch hit for a team that has seen defections actually increase its numbers. We started this debate with 4-4. As the debate started, I realized that it had actually become 5-3, and one of my opponents was arguing in our favor. When I heard Mr. Sanjay Nirupam speak, he did an absolute walkover, crossed over, and then in true sense of politicians, he walked out as well. He wasn't just happy with walking over. I sent a note to Siddharth. I don't know whether he was going to refer to it, but I will here. I sent him a note as Mr. Sanjay Nirupam was speaking, saying, look, I don't know if you're going to summarize and argue against what I am saying, or if you're going to summarize and argue against what your own teammates are saying, because you clearly are in a position where you now have to decide whether you're batting for your team or batting for your party. Now, as I said, I come from Jammu and Kashmir. For me, the topic was self-evident. I do not believe that strong states weaken a center. In fact, I believe that you cannot have a strong nation unless you have strong states. But you cannot have, a nation will not be strong if its states are not strong. But states can be weak if your center is overly powerful or overly interfering. A fellow panelist of mine referred to an incident that took place in 1984, and rightly so. Just because regional chief ministers and regional powers came together to discuss policies that were not in keeping or in harmony with the thought process that prevailed in the center at that time, a section of the constitution was used, a state government was dismissed, and if you look at it, really the turmoil in Jammu and Kashmir, the beginnings of that turmoil is really the dismissal of that government. Because if that government hadn't been dismissed, there wouldn't have been a Rajiv Farooq Accord. If there hadn't been a Rajiv Farooq Accord, you would not have had the elections of 87 with all the allegations that followed. If you hadn't had the elections of 87, I think it's fair to say there wouldn't have been militancy, and today Jammu and Kashmir wouldn't have been where it is. So sometimes an overly powerful center is also not in the interests of the nation. Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India on the basis of a framework, on the basis of conditions. And they realized very early on that it is not a bad thing to devolve powers to the states as long as you draw some lines in the sand. Now, nobody is saying that to strengthen states, you have to take away the powers of defense from the center, or the powers of currency from the center, or the powers of communication from the center, or foreign affairs from the center, because those were the four subjects that the state of Jammu and Kashmir acceded to the union. They said, look, you are responsible for currency, communication, defense, and foreign affairs. Everything else is the domain of the state. And it worked for a while. So there is no reason why a union of states like India's, that is so diverse, that has so much diversity in terms of its language, in terms of its culture, in terms of everything, should be worried about states that have a greater say in how they function. As Chief Minister of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, one of my constant complaints was that money came from the center and it came tied. As the introduction video said, the Chief Ministers of Jammu and Kashmir function with two hands tied behind their back. In some cases that is actually true, and particularly in financial matters. When I started as Chief Minister in 2009, out of the entire plan size that the state of Jammu and Kashmir had, I had flexibility to decide for about 2,500 crores. Gradually, all that money got tied into centrally sponsored schemes. By the time I left office, I literally had flexibility over about 400 crores. So I was essentially a Chief Minister deciding about 400 crores of allocations. All the other allocations came tied in from the center. Now, how is that fair to a state? How are you strengthening states? How are you strengthening devolution? Why is it that we feel threatened? And what is this about, I have to be an Indian first and nothing else? I am an Indian, I've never claimed to be anything else. But is it a zero-sum game? Does it mean that just because I'm an Indian, I can't also be a proud Kashmiri? Does it mean that because you're Indians, you can't be proud Bengalis? You can't be proud residents of this great city of Kolkata? We can be so many different things. We don't have to be put into one pigeonhole. And therefore, when we feel this need to stand up and profess our nationalism, I mean, I felt terrible for the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. I hold no sort of mandate for him. God knows he and I don't see eye to eye on practically everything. But all the man did was carry out an order of the Supreme Court and various courts to release one particular prisoner. And what did you do? Television channels called him a pro-Pakistani Chief Minister. He's a Pakistani Chief Minister. He's an anti-national Chief Minister. Why? Because he doesn't wear an I am an Indian on his sleeve and profess his nationalism at every sort of waking moment. Suddenly it's so easy to turn the elected Chief Minister of a state of this union into somebody who is anti-national. You know, it has to be about the states, but being about the states doesn't have to be against the nation, so long as we understand where the lines lie. Now, take for example two disagreements we've had over water, one having national implications and one having domestic implications. What the Trinamool Congress did with regard to the water sharing agreement with Bangladesh, possibly something people could have disagreements with. What Amrinder Singh did, what did he do? He put his state ahead of other states. He cancelled all the water sharing agreements between Punjab and its neighboring states. He put his state first, and I didn't hear a murmur from the Congress or anybody else. It happens. That is the way it is. Similarly, whether it's Tamil Nadu, whether it's Jammu and Kashmir, whether it's Andhra Pradesh, one size cannot fit all. India is too large and too diverse for one size to fit all. Politics can be about the states and politics can be about the nation. But politicians have to be trusted to make the right decision. You vote your politicians, you vote the people into office. After voting them there, please trust them to know what is right for the state and what is right for the nation. And I'm sure 9 times out of 10, the person who you have elected to office will make the right choice. They will not. They are not predisposed to sacrifice national interests at state interests. But yes, there are times when I will put my state above the interests of other states. And I can't be grudged for doing that. Yes, I can be grudged for putting my state above the nation, and there, as I said, lines can be drawn in the sand, and those lines can be respected. I thought we had won this debate when Ajay Makam Sahab started with the lines that I think are going to be on the front page of most newspapers tomorrow, which is that political parties need to do away with the high command culture. Absolutely right. I think New Delhi needs to do away with the high command culture as a governing institution. I don't know how this Niti Aayog will work. My only experience has been with the Planning Commission, and as I said, with every year they tighten the screws. I don't know if this Niti Aayog is going to untighten them, and I absolutely agree, having been in coalition with the Congress party, the best thing the Congress can do is to ease off on this high command culture and allow states to take more decisions for themselves. As I said, 9 times out of 10, the states will make the right decisions, national interests will not be compromised, and strong states will mean a strong national union. But a strong national union does not necessarily mean a strong India. So let's strengthen the states, let's strengthen the diversity that India is all about. I can guarantee you, strengthen the states, India will automatically strengthen. There is no question in my mind about that. Lastly, it's amazing, moderator sir, how quickly 9 minutes goes. You know, seriously, when I'm on the treadmill, and I'm running, and I think I've run for 9 minutes. When I look down, it's only been 2. And now when I'm standing here, and I think I've spoken for 2 minutes, and the 9-minute bell has rung. I don't know why we can't flip things, why time can't go faster when we're on a treadmill and slower when we're debating, but that's the way nature works. I once again thank you all very much for giving me this opportunity.
That was very well presented, and I'm sure all of you are stirred by what you just heard. And we now move on to Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, who has an advantage over you, Omar, because he's our Jamai, and we are partial to someone who's married a girl from here. But I'm sure we have a lot to look forward to in your speech, sir.
Thank you, Victor Saab. I'm grateful to the Telegraph and particularly to Avigda. And good evening, everybody here from the August gathering, my fellow panelists. When my good friend Omar Saab was speaking, and in his opening remark, he made the judgment also that we on this side who are speaking against the motion have lost. I really for a minute thought, but by the time he concluded, I'm convinced that you were batting more for us than for the other side. And I'm sure you will get a chance to rebut me when you sum up. Well, I am a Jamai, no doubt about it, but certainly I will not be speaking Bengali, something I should have learned, but I haven't learned, and for that I blame no one but my wife. So the blame goes to her only. And we had been debating extensively today on a very good topic. And there are three words which come out very strongly in this debate. One is politics, the second is state, the third is nation. When I look politics and how it is defined, I feel politics is an activity associated with governance of a country, or you may say an area. When I look at state, I look at state as self-governing political entity which has a geographical boundary, and at times it is interchangeable and people call it a country also. When I look at nation, nation generally is not referred as a country. Nation is referred as a tightly knit group a homogeneous group which can have either or all of them, which is culture, civilization, religion, language, and so forth. And when I look for this debate, being the last speaker, I look at all these three words, how they fit into India. And from that perspective, when I look at India, a vast country, lot of diversity, but still unity. We have various states with different languages, different, I would say, historical experiences. Sometimes we go from one state to another, the religion also varies. But still we have a unity. And that unity, when I look at, is something which I just defined as a homogeneous group. And that unity can be said it's a nation, the idea of being together, the idea of diversity coming into unity with one word, that is nation, which is a group, a homogeneous group, which brings all our states and union territories together. And that particular unity is called culture. Because we don't have language, we don't have similar historical experiences, we don't have geographical boundaries. So therefore, one thing which brings all of us together is the civilization and the culture which has come from there. And that can be, in my opinion, it can be given many names, and people do call with different names. You can call Bharatiyata, one can call Indianness, some may like to call Hindutva. To me, it means all the same. That is nation. And therefore, when I stand here, I speak against the motion because I feel that as a nation and we look at the states, we come together and I call it a nation state. And if I look at states independently, we aren't. Sardar Patel ji did a great job for India. One place we couldn't, and I'm sure the next time Umar Saab gets an opportunity, we will be able to integrate that state also with India. And if somehow he had failed, Sardar Patel Saab had failed, then what would happen to India? If we think in those lines, we'll get the answer. There will be geographical boundaries, there will be disputes on waters, there will be disputes on resources, and if you do not have a strong center or a nation, how do you resolve it? There will be an issues, it may lead into a war or aggression, and that situation can culminate into a kind of a position where it is not retrievable. Only one thing which retrieves that situation is a strong center, a strong nation, because it provides to the country, to the states, certain laws which are universal. It's a justice system. It provides, for example, if I may take to give an example before the bell, I have to rush it also. There is between states, I don't say there aren't disputes on water. We have a classic case between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. But there is a mechanism to resolve it. We are not just fighting over it. Two states are not fighting. They don't go into an aggression. They do demand their rights, which they think, but there is a tribunal or a justice system which addresses that. Similarly, I feel that a strong nation does help to protect the rights of the citizen better than individual states, if we may speak, or the politics of states. And I speak here because sometimes, I've got into a mode that even in my sleep, I think about Bengal. So to me, good examples do come out of Bengal. And so please do not mind my friend here. When I look at West Bengal here, we have an issue which recently we had a Bardwan blast, we had a fake currency. Now, if Bengal was dealing with the neighboring country, that is Bangladesh, imagine how the Bangladesh would have treated on these issues, because it's export of terror from here to there. It's an export of fake currency from here to there. But when we are a nation, the rights of the citizen are better protected. I'm just giving that as an example. And another example, as I said, please do not mind, I live and breathe Bengal now, these days. That's my responsibility. So much has been spoken about the fiscal issues here between the state and the center. I personally feel a classic example is again Bengal. There has been historical reasons where a legacy was transferred to the current government after 34 years. And there was a debt burden. There was interest factor on the debt they had taken. But in 4 years, the government could not generate certain amount of revenue to make it into a revenue surplus or to wipe out that debt or the interest on the debt they had taken. But here, a strong center where we are talking about devolution of power, the central government gives in through the 14th Finance Commission, through coal e-auctions, through royalty on coal, as a special package, money for the welfare of the people of West Bengal is about 34,500 crore, additional to what the center was giving earlier. Now it is for the state to think. If we have a strong center, the money comes to the state has to utilize it for the benefit of the welfare. So therefore I say that the accountability goes to the state, because they have to handle the issues which are related to the welfare. So for a strong state, it is important to have a strong center. And we know from times that Emperor Ashok was there. We know when Akbar was there, Emperor Akbar was there. We know when Indira Gandhi ji was there, it was a strong center. The states were prospering. We have currently a strong center, a strong leader, and the states are going to get what they deserve to get. But the theory and the bottom line would be India first. And we need to look at nation first, India first. The center works towards the state. State helps to work towards the policies which says India first. And let me say, and I'll end here, I come from a family, and the slogan that he had given was Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. So any border, any Jawan protecting India, nobody asks which state you belong to, which religion you belong to, which caste you belong to. And similarly, Jai Kisan, any farmer working on the fields, nobody asks him which state you belong to, which religion you belong to, which caste you belong to. For both Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan, this mantra was, they are Indians. And therefore I say, India first, and look at India first, and we will be able to resolve a lot of problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. But thank God for the moment you're looking at this state. And India second, I hope. Yes. Finally, summing up and studying the DNA spiral of politics, genetically we couldn't find better than the bloodlines of Lal Bahadur Shastri and Sheikh Abdullah. So, summing up for the proposition now will be Omar Abdullah. How long do I have, sorry? You have as many minutes as you like, which is again 7 if you can stretch it that far. You'll be given a bell at 7, you'll be given a second one at 9, and then she'll come at you at 10. Right, Chunki?
To sum up for the proposition. Siddharth here, in the course of his argument, said that a strong India is what delivers, and a strong India necessarily means a strong central government. Now, we haven't had a strong central government since the government of Rajiv Gandhi, 84 to 89. But we've still had some stellar achievements. Now, what were those down to? Was it not, in inverted commas, a weak government that kick-started the economic reforms that this country is reaping the benefits of? Was it not, in inverted commas, a weak government that tested nuclear weapons, much to the discomfort of a large part of the world? Was it not a weak government, so to speak, that won us the Kargil War? Was it not a weak government, so to speak, that got the nuclear deal passed through Parliament? And there are numerous other examples that one can cite to counter the argument that this country only progresses or only makes great strides when you have what is called a strong government in the center. Now, we've had a strong government, what is called a strong government, for 7 months now. And what has that strong government given us so far? I'm sure when Siddharth summarizes, he'll give us a long list of what these 7 months' achievements have been. I'm still struggling to find a few that haven't taken place outside of the shores or the boundaries of this great country. Yes, more money is allegedly being devolved down to the states. I'm sure if we were to ask Mamta Didi whether that money has actually reached her or not, I have a feeling that there is a long way between Delhi and Kolkata, and that money is still in transit. And the same is probably true for a large number of chief ministers, including Chandrababu Naidu and a whole lot of others who are expecting this strong center to deliver. But that doesn't take away from the fundamental argument, which is that it is about the states and not about the nation. And that is pretty much what our politics is about today. Like it or not, that's what even my opponents on the other side have argued. Siddharth has talked about his connection to West Bengal and how he thinks about Bengal first, how everything is now about Bengal because he's in charge of Bengal. Himself making the point that it's about the state, that this is what the state is all about. He wakes up and thinks about Calcutta. Now, it's a different matter that he's married to the city, and that's probably why he has to think it, but it is about the state. And every one of my opponents on the other side, in effect, made the point that when you scratch the surface, it finally comes down to thinking about the state, and it is not a bad thing. We are predisposed to think about what is closest to us. So we first think about our own homes, then we think about our neighbors, then we think about the immediate neighborhood, then the city that we live in, then the state that we live in, and then the country, and we belong to all that. And as I said earlier, it is not a zero-sum game. Being a good neighbor doesn't make me a bad resident of this city. Being a good resident of this city doesn't make me a bad resident of this state. Being a good resident of this state doesn't make me a bad Indian. And therefore, for me to put my state first is not a bad thing. And so can we please get away from this argument that somehow by talking about our states and by thinking about our states and by arguing for our states, we are somehow weakening the nation. And now, whether this strong government in the center is actually going to deliver something for this country or not, it is too premature to say. Possibly they will, possibly they won't. In which case, let's have this debate again about the states and the center and a strong center 5 years hence. When this government has seen out its term, we have another election, and who knows, if they've succeeded, we'll have the same government. If they failed, Ajay Makan could again be a minister in the government of India, and the whole disposition could have changed. So, I will again end with the plea that I have taken, that yes, it is about the states, it is about the states. A strong nation does not necessarily mean strong states. But strong states will definitely contribute to a strong nation. So let's strengthen the states, the nation will strengthen automatically. Thank you very much.
There you go, sir. An act to follow.
Few punches now, and I think that's the time. Well, my good friend again, he made his case. He wanted to be strong by saying the strong states are essential to make India strong. But, and he gave certain examples towards a weak center, and the weak center passing certain important legislations. He referred to the nuclear and many other things he did refer in his summarization. But he forgot something, that a weak center also landed up in giving a legacy to the country, because the weak center could not get around strong states because of the sectorial reasons. They were not allowing certain bills to be passed, which were reform oriented, which was for the development of the nation, which would have done development for the states. And I think my colleague, we are together in the party, who's sitting there, would be, perhaps if he was asked to express independently and not being on the other side as a panelist, he would have told you what difficulty as a minister he is facing when he wants the Calcutta metro to be completed and the center wants to give the money to the state, but there is no land available. For some historical reasons, the land are not available here. So when the center wants to push a land acquisition bill, it does happen that certain reasons do come up, and where there we have problems from certain regional parties not to pass. But again, there is again a classic example on a national politics being played, where two national parties, they come together, they pass a certain reform which are going to benefit in building the infrastructure of this country, which is in a poor state, and that is the reform that was the FDI in insurance. And that is when the Congress and BJP stood together, looking at the politics, which is the politics of nation. And therefore, I admire Mr. Markan. He decided on his own to be on the other side, but certainly their party at times have, or rather their politics has been of the nation. So, all I can, when I look at summarizing, I think my friends there would appreciate that there used to be a period and India tested that period. When I said, particularly I would say from 95, 96 onwards, where it was said, "Kaun banega Pradhan Mantri," it was important to say, "Kaun banega pehle Mukhyamantri." So the states did decide if you had a strong chief minister or you had your own chief minister, and because of that, collectively you could decide who will be the prime minister, and we have seen that happen. We have also seen it happen that a political party with just few member of parliament, because they were state politics, they made him the Prime Minister of India. So how the states collectively can make a weak center, we have seen that example also. Now, we are seeing a transition in this country because the voters of this country have rejected that they need a strong center. And so, now it is Kaun banega Pradhan Mantri, not depending on the state politics, but depending on what the voters want, how the nation, how the country is going to move. And therefore they decided in 2014 Lok Sabha that this time we will give the full majority in the Lok Sabha, and through that a strong center, and the strong center on the devolution of powers, which my colleague was just speaking about. And he said in 9 months, if Mr. Siddharth would like to list, I have no problem in listing them, if the moderator will allow me.
You have the time.
All right, okay. Let me begin to, well, that's a great opportunity. I thought politics will be kept away on this platform today, but I've got that opportunity. So, let me begin. It is something
against the motion.
All right, okay. I think this country has debated a lot on the subsidy factor. A subsidy which a lot of said it should be taken away. There is a social requirement, and I personally feel, and my party feel, yes, this needs to continue to give to those who need it. But at the same time, we have to look at the larger picture, which is on the fiscal prudence, and therefore, our biggest achievement is coming up with Jam Trinity. Jan Dhan Yojana is a fantastic scheme which is appreciated all over the world by creating 13 crore bank accounts in 9 months or less than 9 months, when previous government could not achieve even half of it in 3,650 days. That is a very big achievement. Now, if they were promoting Aadhaar, we brought that into a Digital India program because so much had already happened. We did criticize, but Aadhaar being clubbed with Jan Dhan Yojana and using the mobile services, now the direct benefit transfer, which was supposed to be, my good friend on here, Ajay Makhanji's press conference I had heard, where he had said this will be a game changer just before the elections. Now that direct benefit transfer are going to happen because of this Jam Trinity. That's a very big achievement, and that will plug, just for the knowledge of all the August gathering here, it will plug 60,000 crores of rupees of the subsidy bill, which is 3,77,000 crores. It's a huge achievement by not cutting on the urea subsidy and various other subsidies which is provided for the welfare of the poor, but through innovative and technology. When I come on another hand, I will not get into the corporate because I will be again accused that you held the corporate as if it's a dirty word. Industrialization is not a dirty word. Corporate sector is not a dirty word. They create employment. But the big area where we have addressed that... Okay, last point.
You know, I have 2 minutes.
Okay. So, the big area where we have addressed is through a scheme which is called Mudra Yojana. It is the money which we are providing through refinancing various banks and the postal services for those who are unfunded. And they are those people who go for 20,000 rupees. If I look at Calcutta, they are the hawkers here, the street vendors here. They can never be financed if they want to open their own shop. Now, if they go for 50,000 rupees, they won't get a money from the bank or from the Indian Postal Services. This Mudra Yojana provides funds those who were unfunded. And in Calcutta, if I have to look, it's a huge scheme. If the state government wishes to use it properly. So that is the devolution of power we are giving. We are not looking who takes the credit. We are looking at making India strong. A strong center is helping to make India strong. And the mantra is certainly cooperative federalism. And I would rest my case here and leave it to the moderator to judge us. How did the debate go?
Thank you, sir. Fortunately, I don't sit in judgment, and I am one of the most inadequate moderators you could ever find. However, the debate has come to an end. You've heard arguments from the proposition and the opposition, and frankly, I'm very, very confused. I mean, they've had different styles and different approaches, but it's been exciting. I haven't been bored at all, and I'm sure you've all been excited. I can see there's been, pin drop silence, and there's been applause at all the right places and the right moments, and smirks and laughs and even, nods. So, and no one has fallen asleep from the front row to as far as I can see. So that's very commendable. Calcutta's audience is always amazing. They've all experienced that. You are a wonderful audience. This club has got minds that we all respect, and they've all spoken to you with a great deal of respect, and I'm sure you equally hold them in high esteem and respect, in spite of them being politicians, right? So, all we have to do now is put the motion to vote, and now you be the judges. The motion reads, politics is about the states and not about the nation. Politics is about the states and not about the nation. Okay. Now I'd like those in favor in the audience to please raise their hands. And those against? My God Almighty. Yes, you have. All right, is that correct? You raised your hand, both hands? Okay. Pardon? Yes, sure. What do you want to say? But only make it short. Supplementaries, no.
Hello?
No, yours will be the quote of the day, I assure you. Mr. Makan, you've made the quote of the day.
Moderator sir, I'll just take 1 minute.
Yes.
You know, when my fellow panelists on the other side said that I was batting for them, they didn't get the meaning of the motion in true sense. When I stand here to say that I'm opposing the motion, and the motion being politics is about the states, not about the nation, what I mean to say is politics is not only about the states, it is also about the nation.
First class.
And people
Okay.
agree with me.
Great.
And
Okay.
after Mr.
Yes,
after,
you want...
Just a minute. After Mr. Nirupam left, we are left with 3 members in our team, and people realize it's not 5-3, it has actually become 7-0. So you'll have lost.
Okay. Oh, but you've won any
Hello.
case. So, okay. So if...
Sir.
Yes, so
Sir,
sure.
please
Are you
allow
going to
me.
sing?
Since Abhishek has spoken.
One thing.
Bolo, Jaichi.
When I started to talk on the podium, I thought of keeping...
Sorry. Come. Let him just finish and then we'll all wind up for the evening.
He's finishing. Let him finish.
You've asked him a question.
No, he's finishing.
I've just got a sentence for Babul. When I started to speak on this podium, I thought of keeping the petty politics away, keeping with the great tradition of this club, because I was under the impression that a civic police round the corner and we'll have enough occasions for that. But since he has already, he has other plans and he has said that I have spelled the word India wrongly, I'm challenging him in this stage. If I have done that, he can see the video footage. If I have spelled the word India wrongly, with wrong letters, I resign as a member of parliament. And if you're proven right, you resign as a member of parliament.
You're taking it far too seriously, sir. You're taking it far too seriously. Come.
You know what? Let's make things easier. I don't want to... Abhishek, that was just in pun intended, and it will be... Rewind karo dekho. It's human error. It just proves that if you make an error, you are a human being. And so, Manush Matri Bhula just proves... So let's take it on light
I'm open
humor.
to the challenge.
No.
I spoke about.
I don't accept
Get into
that.
the point, my friend.
No. I give a pass on that. I will just say that let's walk towards making red tape into red carpet. That's all I have to say. I think that is what sums up everything.
Well, I guess
the state and the nation has to walk together to turn red tape into red carpet. That's it.
There you go.
And one thing as a Bengali, যেমন Rose Valley Sharda বললে মনে হয় যেন political debate হচ্ছে. If you keep your mind without fear and keep your head high, ওখানে একটা googly
I think they're trying to say something.
ওখানে একটা googly
Please, could you remain seated, speakers? We have a vote of thanks that's coming up. You're going to be given presents, farewell presents to leave with, and please. No, it will not. Okay.
He was joking, I am joking.
No, fine. Okay, it's lovely to end up on a lighter note, and I hope you will please take it in good spirits. I mean, there's no enmity over here. Okay? One of the fun things about a debate is being able to argue, and argue like gentlemen. Okay, over to now, yes, sir. I have no idea that you don't know that the motion has been defeated by the audience. So congratulations, the opposition win. Hands up, not hands down. Okay? Very well done, very well done. Right, sir, it's over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, request you to kindly be seated because now it's time to call on the First Lady of Calcutta Club, Mrs. Rajeshri Goa, to kindly felicitate the honorable speakers on stage. Ma'am, please. And of course, we had the firebrand right here, Abhishek Banerjee. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Jitan Ram Maji. Mr. Siddharth Nath Singh, sir.
I don't think
so. We request you to kindly be seated.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think a little bit of courtesy while we are felicitating. We would really appreciate if the audience be seated. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. And I'd like to call on Mr. N.R. Dotto, Chairman and Managing Director of the Camellia Group, and Mr. D.D. Purokayasto, Managing Director and CEO of ABB Private Limited, to kindly come on stage and facilitate our beautiful, honorable speakers who really rocked today's session, Mr. Purokayasto and Mr. N.R. Dotto. Thank you, sir.
Can we have a big round of applause from the audience, please, while you're leaving, for the wonderful speakers today?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. N.R. Dotto, Chairman cum Managing Director, Camellia Group, and Mr. D.D. Purokayastha, Managing Director and CEO, ABB Private Limited, doing the honors and felicitating our speakers. A beautiful evening it's been today. I know it's a little hot, but what's there a little bit of heat in an awesome, amazing, electrifying debate? Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand. I think we need a little bit of noise, and that's what's good. Mr. Victor Banerjee, amazing, sir. It was so awesome, to hear you take command. It's just amazing. Thank you, Mr. Purokayastha. Thank you, Mr. N.R. Dotto. Really a pleasure to have you on stage with us. And ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to call on Mr. Rudrangshu Mukherjee to give the vote of thanks. It's really been a pleasure. Stay put till the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the Telegraph, it's my privilege to offer a vote of thanks for this evening. Firstly, our presenting sponsor, the Camellia Group, especially the chairman and MD of the group, Mr. N.R. Dotto, who you just saw on stage. We have also a beverage partner, but it's not the kind of beverage that most males, at least, of the Calcutta Club prefer. It's Jor Tea. A thank you to them. Two great institutions like the Telegraph and the Calcutta Club can only have Mercedes-Benz as the auto partner. Thanks to Mercedes-Benz for supporting this event. There's ABP Ananda, our TV partner and part of the ABP group. Our radio partner is 91.9 Friends FM. Our outdoor partner is Artage, and our co-partner is 90 Degrees. Thanks to all these corporate bodies for making this event possible. Thanks also to all the speakers for making time to come here and present their views. Mr. Aziz, Nikhilesh, Ali Naki Khan. We have all seen him excel in these roles. Now finally he's excelled as a moderator. Victor, you're too close a friend of the Telegraph to formally thank, but thank you for being there. And finally, all of you for being a wonderful audience, as you always have been over the years. So till we meet next time for the national debate, stay happy and keep well. Thank you.
Good night.